Coming up on Virginia Currents, a revealing story on the transformation and acceptance of gender identity. Also, national and local TV host April Woodard talks about her life in and out of the spotlight. And a familiar face joins me on Daphne's Corner. Director, producer, and actor Tim Reid talks about the Legacy Media Institute. And we have the raucous music of renowned blues band, the Bush League, all next on Virginia Currents. Welcome to Virginia Currents. I'm Daphne Maxwell Reid. Have you ever felt uncomfortable in your own skin? Imagine feeling like that for years, even decades. That describes daily living for many people who do not identify with the gender they are born with. It's an internal struggle that often begins in childhood before sexual identity has taken shape and when it's hard to communicate and be validated. For 28-year-old Aiden Korotkin, who now identifies as a transgender male, he began carrying this silent burden at age 5. Recently, the burden was finally lifted, and it started with his name change.
I never felt connected to my birth name. Thinking about it, I liked how it flowed, but it never felt like me. So when I was choosing a name for myself, I wanted to keep my same initials, and I went through all of the A names, and I was just like, nah, these don't feel right. And then I got to Aiden, and I was like, huh, that feels right, that feels good. The more I used it, it felt like me. And the more other people used it, it felt like me. It felt empowering because it was, I think, one of the biggest hurdles to finding my true self. In that, now this is an outward process, not just for me, but for other people as well, because my closest friends were calling me Aiden and using he, him pronouns, and it involved a community as opposed to just an internal struggle. I would say it took me a long time to figure out I was trans. I remember distinctly when I was younger having feelings of wanting to be a boy, telling my parents those exact words. So when I was much younger, I always asked my parents, can I wear boys' clothes? And then at a certain point, my parents forced me to switch to women's or girls' clothes. And then up until I would say sophomore year of college, I tried to conform to what I thought society's view of femininity was, even though it felt so uncomfortable to me. I went through a long time of trying to figure out if it, just who I was, and I came out as lesbian when I was between 18 and 20. It was a process. It was not just all at once. And then 10 years later, I realized I still wasn't happy, and I still didn't feel like myself, and I still was just completely miserable. And that's when I decided to kind of explore these feelings I was still feeling from the time as far back as I can remember, 5 years old. And that's when I figured out I was trans. I had a lot of anxiety telling my mom that I was trans. When I came out to her 10 years ago, because of how she had been counseled by professionals when I was younger, she was really surprised that what I was telling her was not a phase, basically. For me, my journey has been a long, drawn-out one. When I was younger and started exhibiting these qualities and started telling my parents that I wanted to be a boy, they sought professional help, and all the professionals, whether it was the pediatrician, the school counselor, the psychiatrist, the psychologist, all of them said, this is just a phase. Hello. Yeah, hey, Dr. Mel. And I think that if my parents were guided in the right direction of trying to let me explore my identity more, it would have been a lot less heartache growing up. Kids are smart. They might not have the words to describe it, but kids know who they are. It's really society that pulls them away from that clarity. I wish people would just let those ideas be explored, because ultimately it's that individual's life. They have to be happy in their life for the rest of their lives. I would say that she had signs of, I would tell her this eventually. So when I came out to her, I was petrified. I was terrified, because, I have had friends who've come out to their families, and even though they are very supportive of them previously, had just cut off all relationship with them. So I was afraid that that would happen. And, much to my mom's credit, she was like, oh, okay, well, I love you no matter what, and, I just want you to be happy. And I think as soon as I came out to my mom, it was literally like a huge weight had been lifted off of my shoulders, and I could be myself to the world. My process of transitioning, I would say, is pretty traditional in that I came out to everybody as trans. People started to identify me as Aiden and using he, him, his pronouns. I then started testosterone, and I've been on testosterone for about 8 months. Yeah, I really want my beard to come in. I think, just a little stubble, and the possibility of growing it a little bit, fine. But, I don't think I want like a Dumbledore beard. Yeah. Hey everybody. I've decided to make this video because I'm getting top surgery tomorrow, and I'm actually feeling pretty nervous, and so I figured if I make this video that maybe my anxieties will exist out there and no longer be in here. Top surgery is just basically the removal of your chest, breasts in that sense. The most common form is double incision mastectomy. So on Facebook, when I posted I was getting top surgery, a lot of my female friends were like, hey, can you send your chest my way? And I was like, well, I would if I could, but I don't think that's how it works. But I think that just highlights the idea that, cisgendered people still feel a lot of the same things about their bodies that I, as a trans man, have felt, just in different ways. One of the things that I, commented on after I came out, because I've had a lot of questions that people have been like, what's the biggest change that you've noticed? And I was like, now I have normal problems. Like, now I just have to worry about paying my bills. Now I just have to worry about, having relationships, like, with friends and, just normal everyday things. Whereas before, it was the idea that I didn't like myself, and I couldn't figure out why. And on top of all of the other problems that I was having. So, I finally feel like I'm quote unquote normal. But, it really depends on how you define normal. I'm a person first. I'm a human first. For an immigrant, they are a person first, a human first. Finding yourself, finding who you are, trying to find your true self and be your true self and get closer to happiness is a human experience. It's not a trans experience. It's not a cis experience. It's not a gay experience. It's not anything. It's a human experience. It's been great. I had surgery in February, so it's almost, 3 months now? And it was probably the easiest surgery I've ever had, which says a lot considering that it's a pretty invasive and pretty substantial surgery. As soon as I got used to seeing, my new chest and everything, like, I can't keep my shirt on now, but, at first it was just like, there were mixed feelings, and I was surprised at that. I felt sad in a way because a lot of my identity is informed by the women that I grew up with, and I feel like now I'm on the other side, and that my chest seemed to be the last remaining piece of who I was before I started transitioning. And it's kind of sad to say goodbye to somebody that you were for so many years. This is what I knew my entire life, and now that that's over and done with, it's It's sad to grow up in a way. Like the pains of aging are real in so many different ways. You know, it's kind of like saying goodbye to your childhood. I'm much more confident. I just feel 1,000 times better than the shy, self-conscious 17-year-old that I was. I feel exactly how I'm supposed to be.
Aiden hopes to use his experiences as a female to help break down the barriers of inequality for many women within a male-dominated society. To learn more about the different perspectives and terminology relating to people who identify as transgender, visit transequality.org. Award-winning journalist April Woodard was raised to work hard and give back. Her parents were high-ranking educators, and her father, Dr. Harrison Wilson, was president of Norfolk State University for over 30 years. Bearing the same name, her brother had a brief NFL career and became a successful lawyer. Sadly, he passed away from diabetes before seeing his son, Russell Wilson, lead the Seahawks to a Super Bowl championship. April's career includes 15 years of interviewing major newsmakers for Inside Edition, hosting several shows for BET, and appearing on HLN, MSNBC, and Fox. To be near her parents, April moved back with her husband and 2 children to Hampton Roads, where she's an assistant professor at Hampton University and co-hosts Coast Live on the very station where she first got the journalism bug.
I remember in 8th grade, my dad saying, well, journalism would be a good career because you're a good writer, have good stage presence, you speak well, you know, you're inquisitive, you're nosy, AKA nosy, so he started gearing me towards that.
This is the key to multitasking.
I know, right? I remember doing my internship here at Channel 3 while I was in college, and my dad, my last semester, I was coming home for Christmas break, and he said, do you know that 500 people apply for one job to be on air, and you're gonna make less than $20,000. You need to go to law school. And I was like, what? I have 2 brothers that are lawyers. I'm not remotely interested in law. So frantic, I came to the general manager of Channel 3 at that time, and I said, I need help. You know, what can I do? I'll intern again. Just let me spend some time at Channel 3 so that I don't have to go to law school. He talked to me about, well, you know, we can train you how to do things. We can give you a job here, starting at the bottom, and you'll be making $20,000. So, you know, I went home like, I'm making 20, not less than 20, like you said, Daddy, and I got me a job. I'm not going to law school. It was really the first time that I felt empowered about my own future. I think I was the first of my family that was allowed to decide what college they wanted to go to. And so that began really my beginnings of, you know, being cut from the umbilical cord, so to speak. And when I got the job at Channel 3, I felt pretty proud of that because, you know, I kind of had the naysayer thing going on a little bit from my dad, I felt like. And that has really always motivated me. The worst thing you can do is tell me it can't be done. And I'm like, oh, it's on now. I wanted to leave. Like, I wanted to go as far away from Virginia as possible and never come back. That's the truth. Hey guys. Because my dad was president of Norfolk State, and everybody was attributing any success I had to him. So listen to this. I got an exclusive interview with a triple murderer in jail. And people somehow wanted to say, well, it's because her daddy was president officer. I'm like, my daddy don't know no triple murderers, okay? I called the man, asked him if he wanted to do an interview, showed up, and he confessed on tape to me. He paid the price for his crime, and he was executed, and they began to change the rules about whether you could do in-jail interviews in Virginia. I went to Seattle, and I started all over again.
Joan Rivers is under fire over her raunchy new book, in which she takes aim at many of the world's A-list celebrities. But Joan told me she won't apologize to anyone offended by Diary of a Mad Diva.
Inside Edition was my first national. So I left Seattle and went to Inside Edition. So when I was still in my 20s. I was on national TV, living the good life in New York City and soon to be married and soon to have children. That was a really exciting time for me because I had achieved the goal that I had set. I got a chance to engage with so many people. Like, I've interviewed Muhammad Ali, I've met Prince, I've met presidents and interviewed 3 of them, and first ladies. I've met some of the greatest minds that there are, and I've met people who you wouldn't know their name, but they're inspirations to me.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I remember Maya Angelou was very special, and I got to interview her twice. I was having a difficult time, and Still I Rise was just really speaking to me at that time because I felt like I was in a lull, and I was like, I had to remind people of who I was, and I had something to prove. And I remember when President Obama won, and she was for Hillary Clinton, but we interviewed her after, and I totally baited her. I was like, okay, how am I gonna get her to perform something for me that I want to hear? And I said, well, President Obama won. Does it remind you of anything that you have written? She was like, I said, maybe Still I Rise? And she's like, oh yes, Still I Rise. And I was sitting within a touch of her hand, and she performed her entire poem to me. And I was in tears, the producer was in tears, the big guy who looks like Ice-T, who was the cameraman, he was in tears when she recited her own poem to me. And that was an amazing moment for me because I was having a hard time, and here Maya Angelou was saying, Still I Rise. Can't express anything more powerful than that.
Quiet in the studio, please, for 15 seconds. Quiet in the studio. Stand by in the studio.
Today on Coast Live, from comic books to hit TV shows and movies.
I'm a professor at Hampton University, and it's kind of become my ministry. I had this young girl in my class named Chrissy, and I was like, I could tell she was really, really bright, but she just seemed like disconnected. So I took her into the stairwell, and I had a little talk with Chrissy, and I was like, what are you doing? What is your purpose? What's going on? And there were some tears shed, but that began the connection with Chrissy, and I realized she was bored. She didn't have enough to do. So I found plenty of stuff for her to do. She became my 4-year intern. She was willing to be a sponge. And through the different times of her growing up, through the different years, I would take her to New York with me to go on set and introduce her to people for Inside Edition. I took her to CNN with me to meet the head of programming at CNN. And she never let me down. And then I actually had to go out on a shoot for Inside Edition, and I used her as my production assistant and paid her for that too. So she got to work for a national show and shot video for it. So, I mean, that is kind of the evolution of really just seeing a special student not reach their potential and then just pushing them and harassing them and calling them in the middle of the night and asking them to do different projects and using them as an intern for my production company. And now she has a job at ABC and Washington DC network. So I'm very, very proud of her. I'm not going to be fake. I'll be honest, it was all about me for a very, very long time, and it shouldn't have been all about me. My career was kind of everything, even for a period of time, over my family, and that is not the position that it should have been in. I've learned it's not about 6 figures and being on national TV, because even though I was doing that, I wasn't happy. When I came home to help take care of my parents, my perspective began to change, whether I wanted it to or not. It wasn't all about me, it was about helping other people. And as I began to see that, my husband started a church and my life began to change, I realized what my purpose was. I think I have a better perspective about the position I should play in life and where God is, and just give to people. Just give, just focus on giving.
Tomorrow on Coast Live, planning a sweet adventure, summer vacation tips.
April also writes for print and social media. For more on her career, go to aprilwoodard.com. Welcome to Daphne's Corner. Today's guest is Emmy-nominated actor, producer, and director Tim Reid. Now, Tim has been a prominent force in the entertainment industry for over 40 years. This Norfolk native has written, produced, and starred in shows like Frank's Place, Sister Sister, Snoops, Save Our Streets, and of course, WKRP in Cincinnati. With Emmy nominations for Best Actor and Producer of a Comedy Series, Tim has received both the NAACP Image Award and the Viewers for Quality Television Award, along with forming Tim Reid Productions and then New Millennium Studios in Petersburg. Tim has created acclaimed productions like Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored, which he directed, Asunder, and Links. To share his passion and knowledge of the industry with the next generation of filmmakers, Tim started the Legacy Media Institute. He joins me now. Welcome, my dear. How are you?
Well, good to see you again.
Now,
I have to say, this is the first time in over 30 years that you've interviewed me.
Oh,
I've
well,
always
I'm
interviewed
happy
you.
to be here.
Well, I'm happy to be interviewed by you.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
We're going to start with the Legacy Media Institute and tell folks why you started. What inspired you to start the Legacy Media Institute?
Well, I think so many young people getting out of college when we had the studio down in Petersburg would come looking for work, looking for a job, and I always would ask them, what do you want? What's your focus? What have you made? And they would show me their projects, and I would always say, why did you make this? And most of them didn't know. And I realized that a lot of young filmmakers trying to get into business did not really understand the power and influence that the media business has over the masses. So I said, it's time for somebody to sit down and give them sort of a break-in, quick view of what the business really is, what it's like.
And what is the overall mission of Legacy Media Institute?
The mission is like many missions in the country today, is to bring diversity and understanding and some responsibility to content creation.
And tell us some of the impacts that it's had on the participants that have attended Legacy Media Institute.
Well, I'm proud to say that over the years now, about 13 going on 14 years that we've been in existence, we've gone international. We have fellows, LMI fellows in Africa, Nigeria, of course, UK, Cuba, Trinidad, and of course several states in America. And these young people are gone on, and many of them now working in the business. And I've seen people who really got hooked on what it was that they discovered about themselves, the passion for the business, and now they're working, making movies, working on network television shows, and doing some really interesting work, and I'm very proud of them.
And what do you think the future of Legacy Media Institute is?
Well, hopefully, you know, I'm in the legacy phase of my career, and the idea is to build an organization strong enough that will support some of the young emerging filmmakers, that eventually I'll be emeritus. I'll just come in and go, who broke this? And leave for the day, and they will run it. So, you know, there are a couple I've actually hired, many of them, a few of them are working with me now. And I hope to see them grow and the organization grow by their work and what they put into it.
What kinds of things are you doing to grow the Institute?
We'll do right now primarily documentaries around the world. I leave for Cuba again in another week to premiere a documentary that we shot with the fellows down in Cuba. Some of the fellows from Morgan State University, where I work with a documentary class there. And so we're going down to premiere that documentary. I'm very, very proud of it.
And what's been the most powerful role that you have played thus far, either behind or in front of the camera?
I don't know. I have so much fun doing any of them, really. But I think the one that I'm most proud of at this point would be, of course, the work we did in Frank's Place many years ago. But I just did an interesting character on Greenleaf, one of my newfound shows that I really enjoy watching as well as being a part of. I play this sort of demonic preacher, I guess you call it, but really interesting character. I've always wanted to play a villain, and this guy has a dark side to him that's really interesting to play.
Well, I am so glad you joined me, sweetheart. And if you'd like to know more about Tim Reid Productions.
It's over? I mean,
it's over. It's done, honey. It's time to go.
I was just getting to know you.
Go to legacymediainstitute.org. This week's Spotlight on Virginia Music shines on the groovin' music of the Bush League. This Richmond band plays many styles of music, but it's their love of blues that brings them together. They describe their music as shiny new, dirty old blues. This year, the Bush League earned a coveted spot as a semi-finalist in the world-renowned International Blues Challenge. You can catch this band performing shows all over Virginia and abroad. Here now is a clip of their song titled Moonshine. And thanks for watching Virginia Currents. Join us next time for more inspiring stories. I'm Daphne Maxwell Reid.